If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening, all over this land. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out warning, I'd hammer out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Ooh, if I had a bell, I'd ring it in the morning, I'd ring it in the evening, all over this land. I'd ring out danger, I'd ring out warning, I'd ring out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Ooh, if I had a song, I'd sing it in the morning, I'd sing it in the evening, all over this land. I'd sing out danger, I'd sing out warning, I'd sing out love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. Ooh, well, I've got a hammer and I've got a bell, and I've got a song to sing all over this land. It's a hammer of justice, it's a bell of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land. It's a hammer of justice, it's a bell of freedom, it's a song about love between my brothers and my sisters all over this land.
Live music on the Tom Sumner Program every Friday. This week we're doing folk music. If you think that sounded like Peter, Paul, and Mary, there's a reason for that. It is, in fact, Peter, Paul, and Mary Remember, joining me in the studio, performing live. And to visit for a little bit, we have Lawrence Doc Probes and his wife, Donna Wilson Probes. There's at least one person missing, right?
Yes, notably, our buddy and trio member Jim Hawley is an active solo musician, so he's down up in Traverse City. He has a gig tonight, so he'll be joining us tomorrow. So,
that explains it. Now, I want to ask you, and by the way, I think there's only been one time in the history of this show. Of course, it's primarily a talk show, but we do show off music and local talent and regional talent and so on. But there's only one other time I think we've played the song If I Had a Hammer. And it was by Leonard Nimoy. And you guys are way better. I'm just saying.
Thank you, Tom.
You want to?
Yeah, let me hear. You got it?
Well, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning, I'd hammer in the evening,
Yeah.
all over this land.
Is he a recovering folkie?
Apparently. In any event, you've at least got to find that fascinating.
Very fascinating. Now that's what I call the great folk scare.
That is a great folk scare. But let me ask you: you guys really do sound like them. I know you're missing a part vocally, and also Jim plays guitar as well. Did you know you were going to do this? I mean, is this part of a plan or something you fell into? You found yourself doing folk music and sounding a little bit like them, so you decided to to do an act like this, or did you really dig in and pull the original arrangements?
It resulted in a dinner evening one time with our buddy Jim. After dinner, we pulled out a couple of old songs and we started singing, "Take a stick of bamboo, you take a stick of bamboo." And Jim's wife said, "Oh my gosh, you guys sound so much like Peter, Paul, and Mary. You need to do an act." And so we started playing around with a number of songs, and we realized that our voices blended probably just as well as Peter, Paul, and Mary do. And they described their first time together up in Noel Paul Stokey's Upper East Side flat in New York as just pure magic when they came together. And that's kind of the way we felt when we first started doing this music.
For some reason, it seems more natural for somebody in northern Michigan to adapt that sound than it does for somebody upstate New York. I don't know why. It just does. But you have backgrounds in classical music.
Yes, and when you say our music sounds exactly like Peter, Paul, and Mary, it's because Doc is a classically trained musician, and he painstakingly took the time to transcribe every single arrangement, every single voice. So we play it in the exact key, we play it in the exact capo location.
Really?
We do it exactly the way Peter, Paul, and Mary did it. Because, folk music is thought of as just real easy, 1, 4, 5 chords with just simple 3-part harmony. It's not. They had a professional arranger, and their arrangements are very, very complicated. So Doc put his interlocking training to work and transcribe them.
Well, I think there's another reason we sound a lot like them. We did grow up with their sound. I grew up in Texas, and I still remember when I was about 10, 11 years old, and Puff the Magic Dragon and the Lemon Tree were on the radio. And ever since an early age, I've had that sound in my mind. And we, like many musicians, play and sing mainly from the mind. Now, in classical music, it often is some of both, especially reading notes on a page and reproducing them. But in the folk music tradition, there's much more of an emphasis on playing and singing from the heart and mind, less emphasis on reading notes on the page or the classical structure, even though we draw from that and take advantage of it. But in our minds, we hear those original recordings. We hear Paul Stokey's voice and Peter Yarrow's voice and Mary's voice, and we try to sound as much like them as we can, and yet no tribute band is actually like a marionette and someone's just pulling strings, and it's not mechanical. So we do bring a little bit of our own coloring and nuances to it. And yet, we consciously want to sound very close to the way they do. And that's part of the magic.
And we also had a chance, when we were first thinking about launching this tribute band, to actually meet with Peter and Paul. It was shortly after Mary's passing. In 2009, they came to perform at Interlochen, and so we arranged to talk with them. We wanted to see how they felt.
You ambushed them.
Yeah, well, we really weren't sure how they were going to react. But they were very warm and very gracious, and they were very excited about the idea of us keeping the tradition alive.
That's nice. We need to take a short break here, but hopefully, you guys are going to stick around. We're going to hear some more music when we come back from break, and we're going to talk some more with Peter, Paul, and Mary Remembered. -1. We're going to take a short break and let our broadcast partners squeeze a few words in edgewise for those of you streaming us online. Rhonda's up next with a list of some of the cool and great things to do in and around Flint and Genesee County. So stay tuned. More folk music coming up, and what a great way to start the weekend with live music every Friday at 11 o'clock. We'll be back.
The Tom Sumner Program. Old-fashioned radio for a new generation.
When I was just a lad of 10, my father said to me, "Come here and take a lesson from the lovely lemon tree. Don't put your faith in love, my boy," my father said to me. "I fear you'll find that love is like the lovely lemon tree. Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. One day beneath the lemon tree, my loving I did lie. A girl so sweet that when she smiled, the stars rose in the sky. We passed that summer lost in love beneath the lemon tree. The music of her laughter hid my father's words from me. Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. One day she left without a word. She took away the sun, and in the dark she left behind. I knew what she had done. She left me for another. It's a common tale but true. A sadder man but wiser now, I sing these words to you. Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. Lemon tree, very pretty, and the lemon flower is sweet, but the fruit of the poor lemon is impossible to eat. Lemon tree, lemon tree, lemon tree, lemon tree.
More live music from Peter, Paul, and Mary Remembered here on the Tom Sumner Program. Joining us in the studio for this Friday edition, each and every Friday at 11 o'clock or during the 11 o'clock hour, we like to focus on live music. And we have Lawrence Doc Probes and Donna Wilson Probes live in the studio from Peter, Paul, and Mary Remembered. They're going to be performing in the area, and we're going to talk about that and much, much more. Welcome back, you guys.
Thanks, Tom.
The music sounds great, by the way.
Thanks. Thanks for having us.
And you know, we're always looking for things we can do, because this is primarily a talk show, but we like to show off live music, and we like to do these little segments. And it's so nice to have an act that's actually performed unplugged, because we get a lot of people that don't do stuff acoustically that come in to do stuff, and you know, they feel a little, you know, they're not as at home with it as you guys seem to be. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about when you formed the group, and you used the phrase a tribute band. Do you think of yourselves as a tribute band or impersonators?
I think we are carriers of a torch. That would be a much better way to put it. We are dedicated to carrying on the memory and the legacy, and also to the social mission of Peter, Paul, and Mary. So it goes beyond being impersonators. It goes beyond being a tribute band, because we don't do this for a living. Doc is an actual doctor. He's a psychiatrist. So we do this because...
I thought that was like one of those music honorarium things.
No. He's a real doc. And we do this because it's our passion.
It's like, you know, there's Doc Probes. He knows all the songs.
Well, he does. But he's got about 1,600 songs in his repertoire. But no, actually, as Doc said, we grew up with this music. You know, we felt passionate about it when we were baby boomers, and there are so many reasons why this music is relevant today, just as relevant as it was back in the 60s. And so, you know, we are honored to carry on the tradition of what they did. We've actually raised probably $150,000 in charity events for various humanitarian causes by singing this music. And we had a chance to visit with Peter Yarrow when he came up to Blissfest last summer, and told him that, and he almost teared up.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, he's just a gentle and a sweet man. He hugged us and kissed us and said, "Thank you so much for carrying on the memory."
You mentioned Peter, but also that you met with him and Paul when you were first starting this, which was how long ago? How long? have you been doing it?
2010 is when we met with them. And
Okay.
Mary passed in 2009, and their show at Interlochen was the first show, among the first shows since her passing. So they were very emotional and so grateful that we were interested in carrying on the tradition.
And you mentioned that you had told them that you were planning to do this, and that they, for all intents and purposes, signed off on it, that they were really supportive of the idea. Have they seen you perform?
Yes, in fact, Peter Yarrow invited us to share the stage with him at Bliss Fest.
Oh, nice.
And we had a great time with him. And,
That had to be a weird thing for him, and for you, to be doing this tribute, doing their arrangements, and sort of resurrecting their act and keeping it alive, as you put it, and then to have him in the audience watching you do it. And
It was
would be
very
surreal
interesting
on both sides.
because there was some delay in him arriving, and also they couldn't reach him on phone temporarily, and so the director of the stage says, "All right, are you guys ready to come on?" And they had 8,000 people out there waiting for the lead headliner act, and so we were thinking, and then just a few minutes later he suddenly appeared, and all was well. But still, we had a wonderful time, and at the end of the show, everybody was standing out in the audience, and the moderator said, "Now, everyone who does not have a wet eye, please be seated." And no one sat down.
Nice.
After the flowers, where have all the flowers gone? That was what we ended with, I believe. Yeah.
How often are you performing as Peter, Paul, and Mary remembered?
Our opportunities are somewhat limited because of the fact that Doc's still working, Jim does still work, but he and Jim has a very active solo career. Doc has an active solo career. We have our family band, Cherry Blossom Ramblers. So to get the group together, we are really only able to do about 10 to 15 shows a year, and
Mostly in the summertime festivals and that.
most of
kind
the summertime.
thing.
Although we did go down to Florida and did a couple of shows in Boca Raton last winter, and we'll be heading back to the Gulf side in November and doing a couple of shows over there.
Where?
Englewood, Florida.
I live in Englewood, Florida.
Oh my gosh!
I have to know when you're there because I will be there.
Fabulous. Well, we'll let you know. November 14th, and
I will
we'll
be there.
We'll be in Dade City too for another show. So yeah, we're down there with the rest of the baby boomers. Who are,
Are you at the event center?
We are as a part of the Englewood Performing Arts Series, and I'm not sure exactly.
At the Englewood Event Center.
I
it's
believe
a
so.
great place. You're going to love it.
Yeah, all those folks down there that they're just longing for hair now. They had long hair at one time. Now they're just longing for hair.
I almost looked over at Doc and I caught myself. I thought, no, I'm not going to do that.
I go and look in the mirror in the morning. It's hair in all the wrong places.
Now, speaking of gigs, you have one coming up close by here.
Yes.
You're playing, is it tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night at 20 Front Street. And we're really looking forward to this venue because I understand this is just a sweet, intimate, acoustic venue in Lake Orion. 7:30 to 9. Tickets are $20, and I think they might be selling fast. So anybody interested probably should go online and order up a ticket.
It looks like you're part of I don't have the lineup, but they've had a series of performances going on there. Basically, since the weather broke, I don't know if it's indoor or outdoor.
Indoor, very, very active venue. They're booking
Yeah.
3 acts a week, 3 or more acts a week, and some really great names. So we're quite honored to be invited down to play.
Yeah, this is really neat. When you do a show, how long a show do you do?
We do anything the audience wants. We do two 45-minute sets. We do a 90-minute set, but we have so much repertoire that we probably do 2-3 hours, and we're constantly adding new stuff. And we also like to throw in a good smattering of baby boomer humor, which is a real big part of why people enjoy getting nostalgic with us. We talk about Woodstock and burning your bra and all that sort of thing. And,
Sure.
People of our demographic enjoy listening to a little bit of nostalgia from the era.
It always seems a little funny to me to be part of a demographic in any application. It is, which demographic am I today? But this is fun, and we've been talking about, because it's Peter, Paul, and Mary Remembered, and it has that throwback quality that you talked about, keeping their tradition and their arrangements alive. But how is this playing to new audiences, to younger audiences, to millennials?
Amazingly well. In fact,
I would think.
We had a couple of young women come up to us, maybe 20, 21, and they were so excited, and they said, I listened to you on my iPod and streaming. And I said, well, I listened to Peter, Paul, and Mary on 8-track. Do you know what that is? So, yeah. And, you know, the kids love it. All ages. We attract all ages.
The one thing is, I think a lot of millennials are fascinated by, and of course they have the technology to search for and find music from all periods and all genres, and I think they're even better than our generation was at exploring different kinds of music.
You know, and if you really stop to think about,
and we were pretty good.
Oh, we were, yes. So the indie movement is so back to more simple acoustic music, simpler harmonies, less produced. So I think that there's a real rebirth of that tradition of music, and especially music as a social medium. You know, there wasn't any Facebook back in the 60s, so we relied on Peter, Paul, and Mary as being our messengers. And I think to a certain extent young people are returning to that as a way of getting their message across, too.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you mentioned having some other projects that you do. You talked about the family band and the solo careers of both Doc and Jim. Do you get a chance to do original material in those other
well, yes,
gigs?
we do, and all of us have written songs, and we've all performed our own music, and even in our Peter, Paul, and Mary shows, occasionally we'll throw in something that we've written, and it's just variety.
Do you adapt it to that sound?
Not so much. It's just simply adapting it to the talents of a band that's fortunate to have 3 A-string singers in one band. That's pretty rare.
That is.
Typically it's one really great singer and then some backing singers, but we have, all 3 of us, Donna, Jim, and I, can hold our own as solo artists and have a long history of performing on our own feet. And then we also have a bass player who, whenever we can get him, we love to have the upright bass, you know, and but when we do something that's
just
not,
to get that Kingston trio feel.
yeah.
That plunk on the bottom end. But you know, we were steeped in that era of music, so our songwriting does have a tendency
Lend itself to that
sound
sound.
like that 60s acoustic kind of music.
Nice. When you're out performing and doing the tribute, if you will, Peter, Paul, and Mary Remembered, are there songs that are requested?
All the time, and you know, the old standards, Puff the Magic Dragon, people like the nostalgic ones, Where Have All the Flowers Gone, and so many times we'll have people come up to us after the show and they'll say, oh, I close my eyes and I can remember exactly where I was when that song was playing, and they're very emotional. I mean, they actually come up and they have tears in their eyes, and they are very moved, which really adds to the how gratified and how great we feel when we do a show.
I want to make sure that we squeeze in some more, at least another song if we can before we run out of time. But I want to make sure and thank you both, and point out the fact that I really appreciate the fact that you were willing to do this when all 3 of you couldn't be here, that you were still willing to perform. I appreciate that very much, and you sound great.
Oh, thank you. Well, we sound even better with Jim, so I hope that a lot of folks will come out and enjoy the evening with us.
I was going to say, don't tell Jim that I said you guys sound fine without him.
Hopefully he's not listening.
I haven't even met Jim, and already I'm dissing the guy. Maybe that happens a lot. I don't know. Anyway, I want to make sure. I always want listeners to know where they can find out more when they hear people or want to find out more about an act or a performance that's coming up. You have a website, don't you?
We do. PeterPaulMaryRemembered.com.
Wow, even I can remember that.
PeterPaulMaryRemembered.com, and I think 20frontstreet.com is where you can find out ticket information for tomorrow night's show.
Yeah, and some of the other lineup, because as you mentioned, Donna, they have some great talent coming in and out of there.
Yes.
And I happened to be looking at their schedule and saw you guys were coming down for this, and I thought, I got to reach out. And thank you so much for responding. I appreciate it very much. It was a pleasure and an honor meeting you and having you here.
Oh, thanks for the invite.
But I still got to find out which one is Doc.
I'm Doc.
And
Doc mainly impersonates or tributes Paul Stuckey, Noel Paul Stuckey. I'm tall like he is. My voice is more similar to his. It's a little deeper. And I literally began playing guitar on a 6-string nylon string, which is what Paul Stuckey usually has played over the years with their trio.
Oh, yeah.
And only later did I switch to the steel string guitar. So my own personal history of Peter, Paul, and Mary music, which goes back to the mid-'60s and buying their songbooks. That's how I learned to finger pick, was by reading the charts.
really?
So Peter, Paul, and Mary, Warner Brothers songbooks you'd buy for $3 or $4 back then. Now they're $50.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
yeah, Noel Paul Stuckey, I've kind of identified with him a little more closely. Nevertheless, we're shameless about picking a part that'll just work, and
Sure. But as you say, if you have a sound that's similar, more times than not, it's going to be the part that he would have sang in the arrangement.
Yes.
And we also have studied the old black and white archival footage of the band, and so we try to look like them too. We try. I mean, when they're studying the music, I'm studying Mary and all of her motions. I mean, she had this fist that she would hold up when she wanted to make a point, and the way she shook her hair, and the way she would jump, move up and down. So that's what I studied. So that when I'm on stage, we try to just emulate all of the best of who they were, their spirit, their music, and just the quality of
And the humor, as you
and
mentioned
the
earlier.
humor and the quality of human beings that they were, that they are, will always be.
Have you got another song for us?
We sure do.
Let's
a fun one.
do that.
This is one of our
good.
favorites.
You all set?
I am all set.
I got those blues when my baby left me down by the Frisco Bay. Yeah, yeah. An ocean liner came and took her away. Yeah, yeah. I didn't mean to treat her bad. She was the best thing I ever had. She said goodbye. She made me cry. She made me want to lay down my head and die. I ain't got a nickel and I ain't got a lousy dime. She don't come back, think I'm gonna lose my mind. Well, if she ever comes back to stay, it's gonna be another brand new day. Walking with my baby by the San Francisco Bay. Walking with my baby by the San Francisco Bay. Well, I'm sitting down on my back porch. I don't know which way to go. The girl that I was so crazy about, she don't love me anymore. I think I'm gonna take a freight train, 'cause I'm feeling blue. Gonna ride it to the end of the line, thinking only of you. I ain't got a nickel and I ain't got a lousy dime. She don't come back, think I'm gonna lose my mind. Well, if she ever comes back to stay, it's gonna be another brand new day. Walking with my baby by the San Francisco Bay. Walking with my baby by the San Francisco Bay. She don't come back, I think I'm gonna lose my mind. Well, she ever comes back to stay, I'm gonna think another brand new day. Hey, walking with my baby by the San Francisco Bay. Walking with my baby down beside the San Francisco Bay. Walking with my baby by the Frisco Bay.
Peter, Paul, and Mary Remembered will be performing at 20
Front Street.
Front Street in, where is it?
Lake Orion.
Lake Orion. They'll be there tomorrow night, and you can find out more about them at Peter, Paul, and Mary Remembered. That was, of course, Doc Probes on guitar and vocals, along with Donna Probes on kazoo and miscellaneous percussion and vocals.
Gold-plated kazoo.
Wow. We'll be back with more right after
The
this.
Tom Sumner Program.
It's time to boogie on out of here. I want to say thanks again to Doc and Donna. Peter, Paul, and Mary Remembered reminds you to go out and check them out at 20 Front Street in Lake.